Canada's ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman, will take on the role of top negotiator for Canada as the country seeks a new trade and security pact with the Trump administration. Prime Minister Mark Carney's office confirmed Ms. Hillman has been named to the position, making her the opposite to U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer in the bilateral trade talks. Emily Williams, Mr. Carney's Director of Communications, also confirms Ms. Hillman will stay on as Canada's ambassador to the U.S., as first reported by the Globe and Mail. For more on this, our correspondent Wyatt Sharpe reports.
Yeah, Theresa, as you mentioned, Prime Minister Mark Carney has named Canada's ambassador to the United States, Kirsten Hillman, to also serve as the chief negotiator to the United States. This comes amidst, obviously, back and forth trade negotiations between Ottawa and the White House and Donald Trump and his administration. The two had agreed at the G7 summit that took place a few weeks ago in Kananaskis, Alberta, to reach a trade agreement within a couple of weeks from that time point. They've now set a deadline for roughly mid-July, where they want to have some type of a trade deal put in place, obviously, after the trade dispute that took place in 2017, where the resolution was the USMCA. Of course, that was the trade agreement between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. You saw a similar situation play out, but this time now, really, Mark Carney and his administration giving kind of a renewed mandate, if you will, to Kirsten Hillman to deal specifically with trade and focusing a lot of her attention on that, as opposed to some of the other complex issues that ambassadors often have to deal with, a number of diplomatic responsibilities, if you will. And it really kind of comes down to the fact that right now, a lot of these trade discussions are focused on what each of the countries, both Canada and the United States, are able to provide for one another. If you look at Canada, obviously providing a lot of grain, a lot of minerals, a lot of oil, and a number of other agricultural products to the United States. And so those are kind of the key elements that the Canadian side of things are looking to use to persuade America that, Canada does contribute to the United States, even though the United States oftentimes is claiming that the trade deficit makes it so that they need to be the ones putting in place tariffs and Canada should not retaliate. Otherwise, the United States might look to put in place even more tariffs. So certainly there's a number of different angles that we're going to be watching for this. But with respect to, how this trade deal could play out, you saw the deal that was reached obviously between the United States and the UK with President Trump and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer signing an agreement again at the G7 in Kananaskis, Alberta. So a lot of experts weighing in on this situation, expecting the potential deal again between Canada and the US that's likely to come sometime in the month of July. It will likely take kind of a similar mold to that deal between the UK and the United States. Reporting for now, though, Wyatt Sharpe, the News Forum.